I woke up to golden sunlight streaming through my bedroom window, and for a moment, I forgot to breathe. Today was the day. After 3 years of planning, dreaming, and waiting, I was finally going to marry Daniel. My heart felt like it might burst from pure happiness. Mom knocked softly on my door before peeking in. "Good morning, beautiful bride," she whispered, carrying a steaming cup of coffee. Her eyes were already misty, and I knew mine would be too, if I wasn't careful with my makeup. My bridesmaids arrived soon after, filling the room with excited chatter and the rustle of dress bags. My maid of honor, Jessica, immediately took charge, organizing everyone while I sat in my fluffy robe, trying to process that this was really happening. "Emily, you're glowing," Jessica said, squeezing my shoulders. "Daniel is so lucky." I smiled, feeling the warmth spread through my chest. Everything was perfect. The weather was ideal, the venue looked magical, and in just a few hours, I'd be Mrs. Daniel Martinez. Nothing could ruin this day. That's when my phone started ringing. The number on the screen made my blood run cold. I hadn't seen those digits in over 8 years. My hands trembled as I stared at the unknown number that somehow felt terrifyingly familiar. The bridesmaids were too busy with preparations to notice my sudden panic. I almost let it go to voicemail, but something made me answer. "Hello," I whispered, stepping into the bathroom for privacy. "Emily, sweetheart." The voice hit me like a punch to the stomach. Deep, smooth, and utterly confident. It was him. Richard. I could barely get his name out. My father, if I could even call him that, had walked out on us when I was 12. No goodbye, no explanation, just gone one morning with half our savings. "Congratulations on your big day," he said, like we'd spoken yesterday instead of never. "I heard through the grapevine that my little girl is getting married." I gripped the bathroom counter, my knuckles white. "How did you get this number? How did you even know?" "Oh, Emily," he chuckled, and the sound made my skin crawl. "I know lots of things, including how much this wedding is costing you." My stomach dropped. There was something in his tone that scared me more than his sudden appearance in my life. "What do you want?" I asked, though I already dreaded the answer. "Straight to the point." "I always liked that about you," Richard said, his voice turning colder. "Here's the thing, sweetheart. I need some quick cash, and today seems like the perfect day for a family reunion." "You're not family," I spat, surprised by my own venom. "You left us. You don't get to show up now and—" $20,000, he interrupted smoothly. "Transfer it to my account in the next 2 hours, or I'll make sure this wedding becomes unforgettable for all the wrong reasons." The bathroom suddenly felt too small. I couldn't breathe properly. "You're insane. I don't have that kind of money just lying around." "Sure you do. Wedding budgets are interesting things. Lots of moving parts, lots of vendors getting paid. I'm sure you can find a way to shuffle some numbers around." Outside the bathroom, I could hear Jessica calling my name, asking if I was okay. I pressed my hand over the phone's microphone. "Are fine?" I called back, my voice cracking slightly. "Just nerves." Richard's laughter sent ice through my veins. "Better hurry, Emily. Clock's ticking, and you wouldn't want me to crash your party." "What exactly are you threatening to do?" I whispered, my legs feeling weak. I sat down on the edge of the bathtub, trying to steady myself. "Well, since you asked," Richard's voice took on a mocking sweetness, "I've been doing some digging into your life. Fascinating what you can find in public records when you know where to look." My heart hammered against my ribs. "What are you talking about? Did you know that you were never legally adopted by your stepfather? All these years, you've been using Martinez as your last name, but legally, you're still Emily Richardson, my daughter." The room spun around me. That couldn't be true. When Mom married Carlos when I was 15, we'd done all the paperwork. Hadn't we? "You're lying," I breathed, but doubt was already creeping in. "Am I? Want me to tell your fancy new in-laws that their son is marrying someone who's been living under a false identity? That you've been lying about your legal name on official documents? Your marriage license, your job applications, your college transcripts?" I dropped my phone, my hands shaking uncontrollably. Through the bathroom door, I could hear the happy chatter of my bridesmaids, completely unaware that my world was crumbling. I picked up the phone with trembling fingers. Richard was still there, waiting patiently for my panic to set in completely. "You can't do this," I whispered. "Not today. Please." "Oh, but I can and I will. Unless, of course, you decide to help your old dad out of a tight spot." A knock on the bathroom door made me jump. "Emily, are you sure you're okay in there?" It was Daniel's voice, warm and concerned. "Just a minute," I called, trying to sound normal while my entire world collapsed around me. "Is that the groom?" Richard chuckled. "Sweet boy. Be a shame if he found out he's about to marry a fraud." "I'm not a fraud," I hissed, but my voice lacked conviction. "Legally speaking, sweetheart, you kind of are. $20,000 makes this all go away. I disappear forever, and you get your fairy tale wedding. Seems like a bargain to me." Daniel knocked again, gentler this time. "Your mom sent me to check on you. She's worried." "I'll be right out," I called, my voice barely holding together. Richard's voice turned sharp. 2 hours, Emily. Don't test me on this. I've got nothing left to lose, but you've got everything to lose." The line went dead, leaving me staring at my phone in horror. 2 hours. In 2 hours, I was supposed to be walking down the aisle toward the love of my life, not figuring out how to pay off my deadbeat father's extortion. I splashed cold water on my face, trying to calm down before facing everyone. When I opened the bathroom door, Daniel was waiting with worried eyes. "Hey," he said softly, studying my face. "You look pale. Pre-wedding jitters?" I forced a smile, hating how easily the lie came. "Yeah, just nerves. You know how it is." He pulled me into a gentle hug, and I wanted to melt into his arms and tell him everything. But Richard's threats echoed in my mind. What if he was right about the adoption papers? What if I really had been living a lie all these years? "You're going to be the most beautiful bride," Daniel whispered into my hair. "I can't wait to marry you." My phone buzzed with a text message. My blood turned to ice as I read it. 2 hours. Or I walk in. Dad. I quickly deleted the message, but not before Daniel noticed my reaction. "Everything okay?" he asked, his brow furrowed with concern. "Perfect," I lied, my heart breaking a little more. "Everything's perfect." After Daniel left, I sat on my bed staring at my phone, my wedding dress hanging behind me like a beautiful ghost.
$22,000.
I could pull it from our honeymoon savings. We'd been planning a trip to Italy for months, but we could postpone it, take something smaller, local. My fingers hovered over my banking app. It would be so easy. Transfer the money, make Richard disappear, and get on with my perfect day. No one would ever have to know. "Emily." Jessica burst through the door, her arms full of flowers. "The photographer wants to start the getting ready shots in 30 minutes, and your hairstylist is asking about." She stopped mid-sentence, taking in my expression. "What's wrong?" "Nothing," I said quickly, shoving my phone under a pillow. "Just thinking about everything that needs to get done." Jessica set down the flowers and sat beside me. "This is about more than wedding nerves, isn't it?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed again. Another text. I grabbed it instinctively, and Jessica caught a glimpse of a screen before I could hide it. "Who's texting you?" "Emily, you're scaring me." I looked at my best friend's worried face and almost broke down right there. Jessica had been with me through everything: college, my first heartbreak, meeting Daniel. But how could I explain this? "It's nothing important," I said, but my voice shook. I quickly opened my banking app and pretended to check something mundane. Just confirming vendor payments. Jessica didn't look convinced. "Emily, I've known you for 20 years. You're terrible at lying. What's going on?" My phone buzzed again, and this time I couldn't hide my flinch. The message was simple but terrifying. 1 hour left. "Seriously, Em, you're freaking me out." Jessica reached for my phone, but I pulled it away quickly. "It's just wedding stress," I insisted, standing up and moving toward my dress. "We should focus on getting ready. The photographer will be here soon." Jessica stood up too, blocking my path to the closet. Not until you tell me what's wrong. This isn't normal bride nerves. You look like you've seen a ghost. I wanted to tell her so badly. Jessica would know what to do. She was practical, smart, and had always been my voice of reason. But what if Richard was right? What if I really was a fraud? What if telling anyone would just make everything worse? Please, I whispered. Can we just focus on the wedding? I promise I'm okay. Jessica studied my face for a long moment, then reluctantly stepped aside. But I could tell she wasn't dropping this. An hour later, I was in my wedding dress, standing at the back of the church. The photographer had captured dozens of getting ready moments, but I'd been distracted through all of them. Jessica kept shooting me worried glances while fixing my veil. You look absolutely stunning, Mom whispered, tears in her eyes. Carlos would be so proud. The mention of my stepfather made my stomach clench. If Richard was telling the truth about the adoption, what did that mean for my relationship with Carlos? He'd been more of a father to me than Richard ever was. Are you ready, mi Nina? Carlos appeared beside me in his tuxedo, offering his arm. Mom had asked him to walk me down the aisle, and I couldn't think of anyone I'd rather have beside me. I'm ready, I said, though I wasn't sure if I was lying or not. We began the slow walk down the aisle. Every step felt surreal, like I was watching someone else's life. The guests were smiling, some dabbing at their eyes. Everything was perfect and beautiful and exactly what I dreamed of. But my eyes kept scanning the crowd, looking for a face I hoped I wouldn't see. Do you, Emily, take Daniel to be your lawfully wedded husband? The minister asked. The words felt heavy in my mouth, but I managed to say, I do. Daniel's smile was radiant as he slipped the ring onto my finger. I do, he said when his turn came, and I almost cried at the love in his voice. You may kiss the bride, the minister announced. As Daniel leaned in to kiss me, I caught a glimpse of movement at the back of the church. A figure slipping through the doors and disappearing immediately. My blood went cold. Daniel's lips met mine, and our guests erupted in cheers and applause. But all I could think about was that fleeting shadow. Had it been Richard? Was he really here? Mrs. Martinez, Daniel whispered against my lips, and the name made me flinch for all the wrong reasons. We walked back down the aisle together, hands clasped, while rice and flower petals rained down on us. Everyone was laughing and clapping, and I tried to focus on their joy instead of the terror creeping up my spine. Outside the church, we posed for pictures while guests made their way to the reception venue. I kept scanning the crowd and the surrounding area, but there was no sign of the figure I'd seen. Maybe I'd imagined it. Maybe it was just wedding stress making me paranoid. My phone buzzed in my bouquet. A text message. TikTok, princess. The reception was in full swing by the time we arrived. The venue looked magical with twinkling lights and flowing white fabric. Our guests were already enjoying cocktails and appetizers, and the atmosphere was perfect. But I couldn't shake the feeling that Richard was watching me somewhere. You seem distracted, Daniel said as we posed for more pictures near the head table. Everything okay? Just overwhelmed, I said, which wasn't entirely a lie. It's all so beautiful. During dinner, I barely touched my food. I kept checking my phone under the table, each time finding a new message from Richard. Looking lovely in white. Hope you're enjoying your party. Shame if something interrupted it. Jessica, sitting at my right, squeezed my hand under the table. Talk to me, she whispered. What's wrong? My phone rang then, and the sound made me jump so violently that I knocked over my water glass. Daniel quickly helped me clean it up while I stared at the screen in horror. It was him. Richard was calling me right here, in the middle of my reception. Who is it? Daniel asked, noticing my expression. Spam call. I lied, declining the call. I excused myself to go to the bathroom, needing a moment to breathe. But as soon as I was alone in the hallway, my phone rang again. This time I answered. Hello, sweetheart. Richard's voice was smooth as silk. Enjoying your party? Where are you? I whispered, looking around frantically. Close enough to see how beautiful you look. That dress must have cost a fortune. I felt sick. He was here, somewhere in or around the venue, watching me. The money, I said desperately. I can get it. Just give me until tomorrow.
No dice.
Clock's running out. I want the money before your first dance, or I'm walking into that reception and having a very public father-daughter reunion. Through the hallway window, I could see the party continuing without me. Daniel was talking to his groomsmen, laughing at something. Mom and Carlos were chatting with relatives. Everyone looked so happy and relaxed. Please, I begged. Don't do this. Not today. Then pay up. It's simple economics, Emily. 20 grand, or I tell everyone who you really are. I ended the call and ran to the bathroom, barely making it before I threw up. My beautiful wedding dress felt like a costume now, like I was playing a part in someone else's life. When I came out, Jessica was waiting. Okay, enough, she said firmly. Tell me what's happening right now. I looked at Jessica's determined face and almost broke down. She'd been my rock through everything, and I desperately needed someone on my side. But what if telling her put her in danger too? What if Richard decided to target her next? I can't, I whispered. I'm sorry, Jess, but I just can't. Can't what? Emily, you're scaring everyone. Daniel is worried sick. Your mom keeps asking if you're having second thoughts. Second thoughts. The idea was absurd. I loved Daniel more than anything. This had nothing to do with him, and everything to do with a past I thought I'd left behind. Then what is it? Jessica grabbed my hands. Whatever it is, we can fix it. You don't have to handle this alone. Before I could answer, the DJ's voice boomed through the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the first dance. Mr. and Mrs. Martinez, please take the floor. My heart hammered against my ribs. The first dance. Richard's deadline. We have to go, I said, smoothing down my dress with shaking hands. Emily, please, Jess. Just trust me. After tonight, I'll explain everything. I walked back into the reception before she could argue, pasting a smile on my face that felt like it might crack. Daniel was waiting by the dance floor, his face lighting up when he saw me. There's my beautiful wife, he said, offering his hand. As we walked to the center of the floor, my phone buzzed one more time. The opening notes of our song filled the air as Daniel pulled me into his arms. At Last by Etta James, the same song we'd danced to on our first date 3 years ago. It should have been the most romantic moment of my life. Instead, I felt like I was dancing on the edge of a cliff. You're trembling, Daniel whispered, holding me closer. Are you cold? Just emotional. I managed, but my voice cracked. He spun me gently, and as I turned, I caught sight of a figure near the back doors of the venue. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing a dark suit. Even from a distance, I recognized the way he stood, the tilt of his head. Richard. I stumbled, and Daniel caught me smoothly. Hey, are you okay? I'm perfect. I lied, but I could feel myself starting to hyperventilate. The song continued, and our guests watched from the sidelines, many of them filming with their phones. This moment would be preserved forever, my wedding dance, the beginning of my new life. Except it felt like everything was ending instead of beginning. My phone, tucked into my bouquet on the head table, lit up with another message. I couldn't read it from here, but I knew what it said. Smile wide. Last dance of your life, if you don't pay. I nearly fainted right there in Daniel's arms.
Ink.
Daniel caught me as my knees buckled. Someone get some water. The music stopped abruptly, and our guests rushed forward in concern. I was vaguely aware of chairs scraping and voices asking if I was okay, but everything sounded far away. I'm fine, I said weakly as Daniel helped me to a chair. Just got a little dizzy. Mom appeared with a glass of water, her face creased with worry. Honey, you've barely eaten anything today. Your blood sugar is probably low. Jessica knelt beside my chair, studying my face with sharp eyes. This isn't about food, she said quietly, so only I could hear. Emily, you need to tell someone what's happening. I'm okay, I insisted, taking a sip of water. Really? I just need a minute. The guests gradually returned to their conversations, but I could feel everyone watching me with concern. Daniel crouched in front of my chair, his hands covering mine. "Talk to me," he said softly. "Something's been wrong all day. What is it?" Before I could answer, Jessica stood up abruptly. "I'll be right back," she said, and I watched in horror as she walked toward my bouquet on the head table.
Yes, no.
I called, but she was already reaching for my phone. She looked at the screen, and her face went white. Then she looked at me with an expression I'd never seen before, part fear, part fury. "Emily," she said in a voice that brooked no argument. "We need to talk."
Now.
Jessica marched me into a small side room off the main reception hall, my phone in her hand. Daniel tried to follow, but she held up a hand. "Give us 5 minutes," she told him. "Please." Once we were alone, she showed me the phone screen. "Explain this. Right now." The message was worse than I'd expected. "Time's up. Hope you enjoyed your dance." I sank into a chair, all the fight going out of me.
He's here, Jess.
He's actually here. Who's here? Who's been sending these threats? "My father," I whispered. "My biological father, Richard." Jessica's eyes widened. "The one who abandoned you? I thought he was completely out of your life." "He was. Until this morning." I told her everything, the phone call, the demands, the threats. "I know," I said miserably. "But what if he's right about the adoption papers? What if I really have been using the wrong name all this time? Even if that's true, which I doubt, it doesn't give him the right to extort you." Through the door, I could hear the reception continuing. Music, laughter, the clink of glasses. My wedding celebration, going on without me. "Look," Jessica said, showing me another message that had just come in. "He sent a picture." I looked at the screen and felt my blood turn to ice. It was a photo of the reception hall, taken from inside. Richard wasn't just nearby, he was here, among our guests. "We have to call security," Jessica said, but I grabbed her arm.
No.
"If he gets cornered, he'll cause a scene. He'll tell everyone about the name thing in front of all our guests." "Emily, you can't give in to this." But I was already thinking about the honeymoon account, about transferring the money. Maybe I should just pay him, make him go away. "Absolutely not. You cannot reward this behavior." Before we could argue further, the door opened. Daniel peeked in, his face creased with worry. "I'm sorry, but I can't wait anymore." "Emily, what's going on?" "People are asking questions, and I don't know what to tell them." I looked at my new husband, my partner, my best friend, the person I'd promised to share everything with, and made a decision. "My father is here," I said. "The one who abandoned us. He's been threatening me all day, demanding money." Daniel's expression shifted from confusion to anger in seconds.
What?
"Where is he?" "Somewhere in the reception. He's been texting me threats, trying to extort $20,000. $20,000? Emily, why didn't you tell me this immediately?" "Because I was scared," I admitted. "He's claiming I'm not legally adopted, that I've been using the wrong last name. What if he's right? What if our marriage isn't even valid?" Daniel sat down hard in the chair next to mine. "You've been dealing with this alone all day?" "I didn't know what else to do," I said, tears finally spilling over. "I thought if I just paid him, he'd leave us alone." "Emily," Daniel said firmly, taking my hands in his. "Look at me. I don't care what your legal name is. I don't care if your adoption papers are mixed up. I married you because I love you, not because of what's written on some document." "But he said—" "He's a criminal who abandoned his family," Daniel interrupted. "Why would you believe anything he says?" Jessica nodded emphatically. "Daniel's right. This guy is clearly desperate and willing to say anything to get money out of you." Through the walls, I could hear the party continuing. The DJ was playing crowd favorites, and people sounded like they were having fun despite my dramatic exit.
"He's going to cause a scene," I said.
He threatened to make a toast, to tell everyone. "Then let him," Daniel said, surprising me. "Let him show everyone what kind of person he really is. You have nothing to be ashamed of." "Are you crazy? I can't let him ruin our wedding." "Emily," Daniel stood up, his jaw set in determination. He's already ruined enough of our day. It's time to stop letting him control this. My phone buzzed again. Another message. Lovely ceremony. Time to meet the in-laws. We all saw it. Daniel's face went hard as stone. That's it, he said. We're ending this now. What are you going to do? I asked, panic rising in my chest. We're going back out there, and we're going to find him, Daniel said. Jessica, can you get my groomsmen? Tell them we need to locate someone who doesn't belong. Daniel, no. I pleaded. If he feels cornered, he'll make everything worse. It can't get worse, Sam. He's already here, already threatening you. We can't just hide in here forever. Jessica was already moving toward the door. I'll get security too. This guy needs to be removed. Wait. I called, but she was gone. Daniel knelt in front of me again. I know you're scared, but we can't let him win. You said yourself he's been doing this kind of thing your whole life. Manipulating, controlling, creating drama. When does it stop? He was right, and I knew it. But the thought of confronting Richard in front of all our guests made me feel sick. What if he really does know something about the adoption? What if there's some legal issue? Then we'll deal with it like adults, with lawyers and proper documentation. Not by giving in to threats and blackmail. My phone lit up with an incoming call. Richard's number. Don't answer it, Daniel said. But I already was. Hello. Hello, sweetheart. Time to introduce me to your new family. I'll be making my way to the head table now. The line went dead. He's going to the head table, I said, jumping up. He's going to introduce himself to your parents. Daniel and I rushed out of the side room and back into the reception hall. I scanned the crowd frantically, looking for Richard's tall frame. The party was in full swing. People were dancing, chatting, laughing. Everything looked normal. Then I saw him. He was walking slowly toward the front of the room, weaving between tables with casual confidence. He'd cleaned up since abandoning us. Expensive suit, styled hair, confident posture. He looked like he belonged at a fancy wedding. There. I pointed him out to Daniel. The tall man in the navy suit. Daniel's parents were sitting at a table near the front, chatting with my mother and Carlos. They had no idea what was coming. We have to stop him, I said, but my feet felt frozen to the floor. Richard reached their table and bent down to say something to Daniel's mother. She looked up at him with polite confusion, clearly not recognizing him. I watched in horror as Richard gestured toward me, probably introducing himself as my father. Daniel's mother's expression shifted to surprise, then concern as she looked in my direction. That's it, I said, something breaking loose inside me. I'm done being afraid of him. Before Daniel could stop me, I was marching across the dance floor, heading straight for the confrontation I'd been dreading all day. But I wasn't running away anymore. Richard, I said loudly as I approached the table, making sure my voice carried. Several nearby guests turned to look. He straightened up with a smile that didn't reach his eyes. Emily, there's my beautiful daughter. I was just introducing myself to your new in-laws. Daniel's parents looked confused and concerned. His mother, Maria, stood up uncertainly. Emily, dear, this gentleman says he's your father? Stepfather, actually, I said clearly, looking directly at Richard. My real father abandoned our family when I was 12 and stole half our savings on his way out. A hush fell over the nearby tables. Richard's smile faltered for just a moment before returning full force. Now, sweetheart, there's no need to air old grievances at your wedding. Grievances? I interrupted, my voice getting stronger. Is that what we're calling extortion now? More guests were turning to watch our exchange. I could see Jessica approaching with hotel security, and Daniel's groomsmen were positioning themselves around the area. Emily, Richard said, his voice taking on a warning tone. Perhaps we should discuss this privately. No, I said firmly. I'm done with private discussions. I'm done with your threats and your lies. I pulled out my phone and held it up so nearby guests could see. This man has been sending me threatening text messages all day, demanding $20,000, or he'd ruin my wedding. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the crowd. Richard's face was turning red, but He tried to maintain his composure. That's ridiculous. I simply wanted to reconnect with my daughter. Show them the messages, I challenged. Richard's mask finally slipped completely. You have no idea what you're doing, Emily. No idea who you're messing with. Actually, I know exactly who I'm dealing with, I said, my voice carrying across the now silent reception hall. A deadbeat father who thinks he can show up after 8 years and threaten his way to easy money. Daniel appeared at my side, his hand finding mine. The police are on their way, he said quietly but loud enough for Richard to hear. Police? Richard laughed, but it sounded forced. For what? Attending my daughter's wedding. For extortion, Daniel said calmly. We have all the text messages saved. Security approached from one side while Daniel's groomsmen closed in from the other. Richard's eyes darted around, probably calculating his chances of escape. You'll regret this, Emily, he snarled, all pretense of fatherly affection gone. I know things about your precious new family that would make your head spin. And we know things about you too, a new voice said. Everyone turned to see Carlos approaching, his face stern but calm. Like the warrant for your arrest in Nevada for check fraud. Or the fact that you've been running this same scam on other family members for years. Richard's face went white. Carlos. Still playing daddy to other people's children, I see. No, Carlos said firmly. I'm protecting my daughter from a criminal. The word daughter hit me right in the heart. Whatever legal papers said, Carlos was my real father in every way that mattered. Security reached us then, along with the local police who'd apparently been called earlier. Richard looked around desperately, but he was surrounded. Sir, we need you to come with us, one of the officers said politely but firmly. This is harassment, Richard protested. I'm just here to see my daughter get married. With written threats and demands for money, the officer replied, holding up a printed copy of the text messages that Jessica must have provided. That's extortion, sir. As they led Richard away, he called back to me. This isn't over, Emily. You can't run from who you really are forever. But his words didn't have any power over me anymore. I watched him being escorted out of my wedding reception and felt only relief. The guests were buzzing with excitement and concern, but Daniel's father stood up and raised his glass. To Emily, he said loudly, for showing us all what real strength looks like. The toast was taken up around the room, and I found myself crying, not from fear or stress, but from overwhelming gratitude for the family I'd chosen and who had chosen me. Daniel pulled me close. Are you okay? I'm perfect, I said, and for the first time all day, I meant it. Mom appeared beside us, tears in her eyes. I'm so proud of you, baby. You stood up to him. We all did, I said, looking around at all the people who had supported me. I couldn't have done it alone. The rest of the reception was everything I dreamed it would be. Without Richard's threats hanging over me, I could finally enjoy my own wedding. Daniel and I finished our first dance properly, and I actually tasted the food this time. During the cake cutting, Daniel whispered in my ear, I was so scared I was going to lose you today. Lose me? Never, I whispered back. Though I'm sorry you had to find out about my family drama in such a dramatic way. Are you kidding? My wife is a total badass who stands up to bullies. I'm even more in love with you than I was this morning. Later, as we sat together watching our friends and family dance, I thought about what Richard had said about running from who I really was. He was wrong. I wasn't running from anything anymore. Daniel, I said, I want to look into the adoption papers. Just to make sure everything is legally correct. Whatever you want to do, we'll do together, he promised. But Emily, even if there is some paperwork mix-up, it doesn't change anything about who you are or how much I love you. Jessica appeared beside our table, slightly out of breath from dancing. So, how does it feel to be married to a superhero? She asked Daniel. Pretty amazing, he grinned. Though next wedding, we're eloping. I laughed, feeling lighter than I had in years.
No way.
I want to do this again in 20 years, just to see if anyone else from my past wants to crash the party. As the evening wound down and guests started to leave, I found myself reflecting on everything that had happened. Richard had tried to control me one last time, to make me feel small and afraid and ashamed of who I was. Instead, he'd given me something unexpected, the chance to realize how strong I actually was and how lucky I was to have people who truly loved me. "Ready to go, Mrs. Martinez?" Daniel asked, offering me his arm. "More than ready," I said. We said goodbye to our remaining guests, thanking them for celebrating with us despite the unexpected drama. Many of them told me how proud they were of how I'd handled the situation. "You turned your worst nightmare into your greatest triumph," Mom said as she hugged me goodbye. As Daniel and I walked to our car, rice and flower petals still in my hair, I thought about the message Richard had sent earlier. Time's up. He was right, but not in the way he'd meant. Time was up for letting him have any power over my life. Time was up for being afraid of my past. From now on, I was moving forward with the family I'd built, not the one I'd been born into. "So," Daniel said as we drove away from the venue, "ready for a honeymoon? Though after today, I'm thinking we should go somewhere with really good security." I laughed, feeling genuinely happy for the first time all day. Anywhere is perfect, as long as you're there. And it was true. Richard had tried to ruin my wedding day, but instead, he'd shown me exactly how strong my marriage already was. Hey, beautiful viewers, if this story kept you on the edge of your seat, make sure to subscribe for more incredible true stories that will absolutely blow your mind. You won't believe what happens next in our upcoming video. My father thought he could blackmail me into submission one more time. Instead, he gave me the perfect wedding gift, the knowledge that I never had to be afraid of him again. Some families are born from blood, but the best families are built from love, loyalty, and choice. And I had chosen well. Thanks for watching.